Just before we start with today's video, I just would like to say two things, and the first one is thank you so much for helping me reach 900 subscribers. That really made me happy. I can't wait to keep growing. I can't wait to keep trying to reach more audiences out there, more people out there that can relate to me, to my horror reviews, to the horror movies that I love, that you love. So thank you so much for helping me reach 900. And second thing that I would like to say is I just want to apologize because I know I haven't been posting for the last month, and I know I had a huge Final Destination content planned, and I'm still doing it. Don't get me wrong, I will still do that content, but the main reason why I didn't do it even when Final Destination Bloodlines came out, my most anticipated film of the year, is because April and May became chaotic for me on my personal life. A lot of things happened off screen that I just couldn't concentrate. I had to dedicate my time to so many things off cameras, and that's the main reason why I just couldn't create the content that I was planning to. But I'm slowly getting back there. I'm slowly getting, getting to do the videos that I wanted to do, because things are slightly to get better, let's say. So thanks so much for being patient, and I will still do that content, don't get me wrong. And over the summer, hopefully, I hope nothing happens, I will start making summer related content, and my Final Destination content will come out eventually, because as you know, Final Destination is my favorite franchise of all time. So I want to dedicate my full energy and my full brain and thoughts to that franchise, because it means the world to me. But for now, what we're gonna do today is I'm going to be doing, like I said before, I couldn't do this video for the month of April, so that says a lot. But yeah, as you probably tell, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna be talking about the movies and series that I watched over the month of May. And as you might expect, I didn't watch so much stuff because, like I said, I was going through so many things on my personal life, but I still managed to watch a few new releases. I rewatched some very good films, and I discovered some very good non-horror films. So if that sounds exciting for you, welcome back to another video here on the channel Royal Horror. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's talk about movies. So the only series that I watched over the month of May is I watched the latest Grey's Anatomy season 21. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've loved this series when I first started to watch it over the pandemic. This series is very long, and I've managed to watch all of them until now, but I gotta say that I'm very tired of Grey's Anatomy already. Like, I really hope we get to stop, because the last season and this season they were not that good. It's very boring. Everything is the same. Like, all of the storylines and all of the characters are the same thing that happened in the past in the series, so nothing is new. The only few characters that I liked, they got removed from the series, so there is nothing really keeping me looking forward for the next season. But it's been already announced, so guess what, I will be sitting for it. But I really hope that I get to have a break from Grey's Anatomy. That was the only series that I watched over the month of May, so let's just jump into the non-horror section of this video. New releases and old releases, rewatches, first watches, etc. of non-horror movies. So I watched Karol G's documentary over Netflix. Now, in case you didn't know who she is or what's going on, she is a Colombian singer, and she's one of my favorites, and she made a huge successful concert tour all around the world, in America, in Australia, in Europe. So this documentary was basically talking about that. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. I wish I could have given it more, but I just didn't enjoy that the documentary was too focused on her as a product rather than on a person. And I feel like documentaries about singers, etc., they should focus more on them as real people rather than the product that they give to the audience. For the first time, I watched A Simple Favor in order to prepare for the sequel over Prime, Another Simple Favor, so we can talk about both of those films. Now, the first one, to be honest, is a very generic drama. It's not even a thriller. I don't know why it's considered a thriller, maybe because of a few kills that happen in the movie, but it's nothing that serious. Anna Kendrick, she was fantastic in the movie, but it's just something that was a bit boring, a bit plain. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I gave it 3 stars out of 5, which is fair because the storyline kind of kept me entertained, but it's not something that I will rewatch. But with the new one, with the sequel, I didn't like that movie at all. I gave it 2 stars out of 5, and I hate to be negative when it comes to new releases because I always want to give them a chance, but this movie was just too telenovela coded. You know those telenovelas series, in case you didn't know the term telenovela, is basically series that just happened, it's like soap operas. I think that's the best definition. It's those kind of series that have like 300 million episodes. Each episode is like an hour or almost 2 hours, and they just don't know when to finish. And like for example, Latin American soap operas and Turkish operas are well known and popular because of that. And this movie felt like one of those. It was just too cringy. I didn't really like it. I don't really see why they made this movie. So I don't really see the reason why they made this movie, but it's not something that I will personally rewatch. Obviously, I rewatched Lilo and Stitch from 2003 to prepare for the live action Lilo and Stitch that came out a few days ago actually, so we can talk about this too now. The original Lilo and Stitch is a perfect film, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Disney product ever. That movie is perfection. I wouldn't change anything about it. I love how that movie is so human, is so relatable, is so rough, is so raw and bleak, even though it's an animated film. It's just perfect, and I loved how those characters are so, like, the stuff they go through is so real. It's not cartoonish, and it's just so relatable. Especially watching that movie as a grown-up now, it even hits harder because it makes you think how this movie came out with this idea for like 20 years ago. It's amazing. And so I was very excited for the live action, which I didn't like the live action that much. I gave it 2.5 stars out of 5, and the original I gave it 5 stars out of 5. So huge difference with the live action. This is the issue with Disney's live actions, because sometimes they don't know how to create the human or like that lovely, friendly atmosphere from the originals into their live actions. And I think that's what happened with the Lilo and Stitch, the new one, because everything in that movie was too movie's sake, if that makes sense. Like the characters, they were very plain, the storyline was very plain, even though it was shot by shot of the original. It just felt very different, and it didn't feel like the original at all. I give pros to the live action because of Stitch. I think he looked very cute, and also because of the actress that played Lilo. I think she did a fantastic job trying to portray this movie at that age. We can talk about now a new thriller release called Fight or Flight, starring Josh. This movie was incredible. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I love when any kind of movie takes place on an airplane or an aircraft, because I think it's such a unique landscape for a movie, and I think this movie was fantastic. I love the action sequences. The stunt work was incredible. I also really liked the gore, the kills. Even though this is not a horror, it felt like a slasher. So if you liked films like Bullet Train, I think you will definitely like Fight or Flight, because I really had a good time with this movie. For the first time I watched before I go to sleep, and the main reason why I watched this is because Nicole Kidman was the lead. This movie was actually very, very insane because it touches a very sensitive topic, and the way that it's portrayed is very insane. The plot twists are insane. You don't see them coming at all. So if you're a fan of Nicole Kidman, and if you're a fan of like drama, thriller movies, definitely give this movie a go. I really enjoyed my time. It's not something that I will rewatch, but I give it still 4 stars out of 5 because it really was that mind-blowing, because I did not see anything coming, and Nicole Kidman, it's not a secret, she was iconic in this movie. Speaking of new releases, I watched Marvel's new movie Thunderbolts. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. It's an okay movie. It's a fresh movie because I was really tired of the products that Marvel was giving us for the last couple of years. So seeing this movie having more of a psychological approach, more of a drama approach, it was very refreshing, and I actually enjoyed it. And I don't think this movie is the next Avengers. I don't think they are the next Avengers. I don't think this movie is this huge breaking the wall kind of movie as some of people out there are trying to make it seem. The last non-horror movie that I watched is Step Up, and this movie is early 2000s goldness. I love dancing, I like watching people dancing, I like movies about dancing, and Step Up is one of the original movies about dancing. And I watched this basically because I got the Blu-ray a couple of days ago, and I remember loving this movie growing up. I remember I also watched another movie of the franchise. I would like to rewatch this franchise now. But fun movie if you are into like early 2000s teenage drama, coming of age, involving dancing. I would really recommend Step Up. Now, I didn't watch for the first time any old horror, so don't come for me, I'm sorry. So we're gonna just jump into the horror rewatches over the month of May. And as you heard me at the beginning of this video, I rewatched all of the Final Destination movies in order to prepare for the Final Destination Bloodlines. But in this video I'm not gonna talk about them because I'm still doing my content about Final Destination. So if you are a fan of this franchise, stay tuned over this channel because I will be doing deep dives about every single installment, and I will also be just talking about these movies because they deserve so much love. So I really hope you're still excited for that content because it's still, believe me, it's still coming. And also, I also rewatched the whole Fear Street trilogy that came out in 2021 in order to prepare for Prom Queen, which we're gonna be talking about in a second. That Fear Street trilogy, if I talk about this trilogy, this video is gonna be 20 to 30 minutes because it's a perfect trilogy, and I'm not afraid to say this, but it is Netflix's greatest project they have ever done when it comes to movies. When it comes to series, they've done other pretty sick, perfect stuff, but when it comes to movies, Fear Street is the best thing they have ever done. I'm so glad that this trilogy exists, that I can always revisit. I love all of the 3 installments equally. I gave all of them 4 stars out of 5. So incredible movies, I love all of them. I think the whole synopsis is very original, the characters are so likable, the storyline, the social commentary, the atmosphere, the lighting, cinematography, the perfect product. I love Fear Street so much. The last rewatch of horror movies that I did over the month of May, I'm so grateful and I'm so lucky to say that I watched the first 28 days later on the big screen because my local cinema, or like the chain, like the cinemas brand that I use in London, Odeon, they released this movie to celebrate the release of 28 years that's coming out in middle of June. They even released a clip at the cinemas before this movie started of the new movie. So that was amazing. Watching this movie on the big screen, it honestly felt like a nightmare, and I mean that in the best way because this movie is so horrifying, it's so terrifying, and I don't know if it's because the way it was shot, I don't know if it's because of the way it looks, or because it takes place in the city that I live in, or because we are like in this era post-COVID. So things hit differently with this movie. I think this movie is even ahead of its time. So I'm not gonna talk so much about this movie because I'm gonna be doing a solo review of this movie very soon in order to prepare for the new movie coming out. But yeah, if you can watch this movie on the big screen, if your cinema is doing it, please do it. And if not, and if you didn't like this movie at first like I did, because I didn't like this movie that much when it first came out, definitely give this movie a second chance because it really horrified me. So the next category in this video is we're going to be talking about horror movies that have come out in 2025, so brand new releases, and I have 5 movies to talk about. So the first one obviously is Final Destination Bloodlines. Now I know I was gonna do a whole review about this movie. Obviously we know what happened to me in May and April, but that's not a secret, so stay tuned because I will still do my review for Final Destination Bloodlines. But just to let you know, I've watched this movie 3 times already. I didn't like it at all on my first viewing. I mean, not at all, but I gave it 2.5 stars on my first viewing because I was a bit disappointed, but we will get to talk more about that on my upcoming review if you're still excited. And the next 2 watches I gave it 3 stars, so we're still there. Like, I'm still not loving it, but I'm not disappointed. I'm still in between, still 3 stars out of 5, 6 out of 10, which is fine, but it's fun to watch this movie at the cinemas. So stay tuned for my review about Final Destination Bloodlines, coming out very, very soon. The next brand new horror slasher that I watched is Popeye's Revenge, and I don't even know what to say. When this movie got announced, and I was like, this is gonna be like Winnie the Pooh, but Winnie the Pooh, those two movies are much better than this one. Popeye's Revenge, honestly, it felt like, I don't want to say waste of time, but it just felt like it's something that I shouldn't have watched just because of how it was, you know. I think sometimes when you make movies, you really gotta know who you cast, because the casting in this movie is probably one of the worst castings that I've ever seen. All of the characters are horrendous. The acting is one of the worst actings I've seen in a long time, and the kills were okay, and that's the main reason why I gave this movie 1 star out of 5, is because of the kills. I think they were pretty creative and they did what they could with what they had. Also, the landscape sometimes looked really good, cinematography sometimes looked very good, so that's the main reason, but that doesn't save the fact that the script was bad, the acting was horrendous, and just the storyline was too messy, and they should just have done something better, especially because they had the budget to do it, and it's just a slasher, so I don't know what happened there. The next movie will be The Ugly Stepsister. This movie, honestly, I'm so glad this movie exists. I gave this movie 3.5 stars out of 5. It's not something that I will rewatch, but I really enjoy it, and the main reason is because Cinderella is one of my favorite princesses, or like one of my favorite stories when it comes to princess. And also, growing up, I always knew about the horror take of this movie. Like, I always knew this, like, the actual storyline of Cinderella was more of a horror rather than a drama or family kind of storyline. So when this movie got announced, and when I knew that it was focused on that actual horror storyline, I was very excited. And I think this movie delivers so well in the message of losing yourself, losing your mind over how you look or over how you want to look because of the pressure from society. I think that message was fantastic. I love the fact that this movie is taking place in the 1930s. Everything looks gorgeous. The wardrobe, the cinematography, the score, the editing, directing, acting, everything is incredible in this movie. The main reason why I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5 is because I don't feel like the movie pushes its horror that much. Of course there is gore, of course there is blood and things like that, but I don't think the movie really pushes itself more to be a horror rather than a drama. This movie is more of a drama than a horror, but obviously they are combined genres, so they work together. But I just wish that the movie didn't forget about its horror elements that much. But it's still this movie disturbed me. Still, this movie made me feel very uncomfortable, especially on those scenes. If you know, you know. So it was a very unique movie. One of the most unique movies of 2025 that I will always be thinking about when I do my ranking in December. The next movie that we're going to be talking about is Locked, a brand new horror thriller starring Bill Skarsgård. Now, I really like this movie because, in case you didn't know, or maybe you know, is that I love one location movies. I think they are so unique, they are so entertaining, so different. Like, you can make so much stuff out of one location movies, and I think Locked was fantastic. I really loved Bill Skarsgård in this movie. I think he just can know how to act. He's one of the best actors we have nowadays, and I'm so glad to be alive to witness his movies because they're really that good. I think he was amazing in Locked. I think the whole interaction between him, the car, the villain, the storyline inside the car, the storyline outside of the car, everything was amazing. Like, how do you make a movie this good when the storyline is taking place inside a car. Do you know what I mean? Like the script is that strong, if that makes sense. And the last movie that we're gonna be talking about today is Fear Street Prom Queen. This is the last movie that I watched over the month of May, and honestly this wasn't horrible. Like, why is everyone hating on this movie so much? Like, this movie is doing horrible on Letterboxd. It's doing like 1 out of 8 out of 5, and that's very, very low. I gave this movie 3 stars out of 5. I think this movie works. Maybe it doesn't work as a Fear Street, and maybe that's why people were annoyed, but it worked as a new slasher. I don't know if it's because I really like when horror slashers takes place on like high school, on prom night, you know, and I think this movie worked in that sense. I think some of the shots, some of the landscapes used in the school, in the high school, were very original and good to look at on my screen. The gore and the kills, they were very unique, and I'm glad they were on screen because I was really worried they were gonna be off screen, but thankfully they were not. The characters, yes, they were not the greatest, but what do you expect of a slasher based in the 80s taking place on a high school? Like, of course, the bad characters, the mean girls, they are supposed to not be likable, and I think they managed to do it. I also love the wardrobe, the hair, the makeup of all of the characters. It really made me believe that this movie was in the 80s. However, I did think that even though the cinematography was gorgeous, I wish this movie looked more that it's taking place in the 80s, because most of the time this movie just felt like it's the 2020s and they're just having a party 80s theme, if that makes sense, you know. There is some shots in the movie where they're using the camera and you can see how the camera is shooting and it looks so 80s. So I wish that movie kept that look throughout the whole storyline, or I wish the movie looked, let's say, like some segments from VHS, you know. I even wish maybe that this movie was a fan footage. I think it could have been so much better than what they did, but nonetheless, I don't think this movie is horrible. I don't think this movie is bad. Obviously, it's nowhere near the perfection of the first trilogy from 2021, but it's still not a bad product. So that was it. Those were the movies and the series that I watched over the month of May. Let me know in the comment section below or over social media, what have you watched over the month of May? What new releases have you watched? Did you watch the new releases that I talked about today? I really hope that you get to talk to me, we get to interact about movies. Have a nice end of your day, have a nice end of the week, take care of yourselves, and we will talk so soon. Bye bye.